With their latest victory over the Sacramento Kings, the Miami Heat snaps a 7-game losing streak, a losing streak that felt like it was going on forever and ever, because this is just something that does not happen with the Miami Heat, and it's something that hasn't happened with the Miami Heat in a very long time. And when this does happen, I think it gets blown a little bit out of proportion. Like when I was researching for this video, I saw a couple articles saying, and here's the quote, trades for Jimmy Butler, or it was 7 trades that make sense for Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat. I also read that people are starting to think that Jimmy Butler is on the decline, and that he said he's looking for Jaylen Brown type money this offseason. So some people think that the Miami Heat need to move on from Jimmy Butler because he's not worth that type of money. Now, I think that's definitely up for debate. Jaylen Brown type money at the age of 34, but I don't think Jimmy Butler is on any serious decline as of right now, but we're going to jump into that later in the video. But when I look at this Miami Heat roster, I actually love it a lot. I think they have a lot of pieces that correspond and work well together, but I'm not going to act like this 7-game losing streak was not concerning from this team. There is some problems there, but where my thinking is, I think the Miami Heat, I think they have the coach, and I think they have the personnel to fix all the problems that we saw over that 7-game losing streak. And the first thing we're going to do is talk about some of the things that the Miami Heat were struggling with. Now, we look at the Miami Heat over this 7-game span. I think the biggest cause for concern is their struggle on the offensive side of the ball, and I don't even know if I would call it a struggle. And I know the Miami Heat, and this is why I said when this happens to organizations like the Miami Heat, we don't really see them have these type of losing streaks that often. I think people tend to overreact a little bit, but I wouldn't even say that the Miami have been struggling on the offensive side of the ball. Of course, from the outside looking in, they've been struggling, but really they're just not hitting their open shots. And I did some research before this video, and I found some numbers that I think you guys would find interesting. During that 7-game losing streak, the Miami Heat, they were generating the 3rd most open shots in the NBA, but they were only knocking down 40% of those open shots, and them knocking down 40% of their open shots was the 2nd worst in all of the NBA. And to put into context the drop off for the Miami Heat, usually they knock down 45% of their wide open shots, so they took a hit. It dropped down 5 percentage points, which is a lot in the NBA. And just to let you guys know, what the league considers to be an open or wide open shot is when your opponent that's closing out to you is at least 6 feet away from you. So the Miami Heat, they're getting a bunch of wide open looks, but they're just not falling. So when this is happening, and it puts a spotlight on all your other offensive weakness. Like we all know, the Miami Heat, they don't really like to get out in transition. They like to take things slow and pick you apart in the half court. But when you're a team like the Miami Heat that gets a lot of stops, a lot of steals, a lot of rebounds, and your offense is struggling, it might help you out a little bit more to take advantage in the transition game and get some easier looks in transition. But that's something that also did not happen over that 7-game losing streak. And then also the Miami Heat, they weren't getting to the free throw line that often over the 7-game losing streak. Only 17 free throw attempts per game, and if I remember correctly, that was 28th worst in all of the NBA over that 7-game span. So that doesn't help out when you're not knocking down your wide open shot. So that's how I feel about the offense of the Miami Heat. We look at them, they have a lot of weapons. They have a lot of guys that can score the ball and knock down jump shots. Right now they're just at a point in time where they're just not falling. So I don't think no crazy change needs to come. I don't think they're missing any offensive pieces. I think guys just need to knock down their open shots, and I think that's going to happen eventually. And another call for concern, and this is not a call for concern for me, this is just what I've been reading while I've been doing research. Some people think that Jimmy Butler is on the decline, and 2 reasons that they think this is that the 2 biggest reasons that they think this is that Jimmy Butler, he's 34 years of age, which that's no problem. That's no problem for me. We look at LeBron James, we look at Kevin Durant, we look at Stephen Curry. As these guys are getting older, they're still playing at a very very high level, and I think we're just moving towards a new standard in the NBA. And I think Jimmy Butler, I think he's going to have the ability to do that because he has an outstanding basketball IQ. He has a lot of will in him personally, so I think if it's something that he wants to do, he'll be able to do it. And then he's not a super above the rim player. He is athletic and he is physical, but he does not rely on jump out of the gym ability. So I think Jimmy Butler can play at a high level for as long as he wants to. And then the usage rating, so his usage rating right now is 21%, and you usually don't see the usage rating being that low from the for the best player on the team. Right now, Jimmy Butler, out of all the players on the Miami Heat, he ranks 4th in usage rating. But like I said, I think that's something that's been a little overreacted to over these last couple of years. Jimmy Butler, he never leads the Miami Heat in usage rating, and until the NBA playoffs, or until they need to win a big stretch of games, or until they need to turn it around after losing a bunch of games like we've seen recently, which takes me to my next point. Jimmy Butler, with the Miami Heat struggling over these last 3 games, we've seen him go into a little bit more of a desperation mode and a little bit more into a superhero mode, leading the Miami Heat to these wins, because we know the Eastern Conference, it seems like every team is just getting better. We see the Cleveland Cavaliers, we see the New York Knicks, so we know that there's going to be some battles for those playoff spots when it comes to the 6th, 7th, and 8th seed. So these wins right now are very important, and the Miami Heat getting a 7-game losing streak does not help out at all, especially given that at one point this season they were hovering around that third, fourth, and 5th spot in the Eastern Conference. But nonetheless, we've seen Jimmy Butler over the last 3 games. He's taken his game to a whole new level, or not even a whole new level, but just a level that we usually see him go to during the postseason. Over the last 3 games, Jimmy Butler is averaging 28 points per game in the most recent win against and he's been super efficient. His most recent win against the Sacramento Kings, he had a true shooting percentage of 81%, which is insane. That just means he's made, out of his 3-pointers, free throws, and shot attempts from the field, all of those combined, he shot 81% from the field, which is outstanding. So, and that's why I think that Jimmy Butler, his age and the usage rating thing, I think that's a bit overhyped, because we know Jimmy Butler, he can take his game to that level whenever the Miami Heat needs him to. We saw that I can't even say we've seen that in the playoffs last year. We've been seeing that in the playoffs since 2020, where Jimmy Butler has been able to put the cape on and play hero ball and give extraordinary performances to get the Miami Heat to the next game in the playoffs, to get them to a Game 7, to get them to the next round, to get them to the NBA Finals. So that's why I'm not too worried. And we've seen this same structure for the Miami Heat over the last couple of years, where they rely on their role players and they rely on these other guys to uplift them while they have injuries, or why guys are sitting out of games. Maybe this year the league is just too talented and is catching up to the Miami Heat, and they're going to have to require the best from Jimmy Butler each and every night, but I'm sure it's something that he's capable of. So that's how I feel about Jimmy Butler. I think he should stay with the Miami Heat. I think the pieces around him, I think they fit perfectly and they make a lot of sense. So that really is why the Miami Heat, they went on that 7-game losing streak. Like we said, they were generating the 3rd most open shots in all of the NBA, but they were hitting just 40% of those shots, which was 2nd worst in all of the NBA. I don't with all those shooters and all those weapons, I don't think that's something that's going to become the norm for this team. And then, like I said, I don't see no type of decline in Jimmy Butler. I'm seeing the same thing that we saw over these last couple of years. So I haven't lost any faith in Jimmy Butler, and I don't think the Miami Heat or the fans should lose any faith in him either. And I do think there's some things they need to tweak out with Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, and Jimmy Butler on the court. I don't think Tyler Hero needs to be moved back into that 6-man role. I just think some adjustments need to be made, because the talent is there for Tyler Hero. I just think some minor tweaks need to be made. Maybe some more catch and shoot threes from Tyler Hero, because he is one of the best in the league when it comes to that. He's knocking down 42% of his 3-point shots. So that's what I want to talk about with the Miami Heat today. I don't think they need to make any crazy changes. I just think it was a very bad shooting slump. They were playing some really good ball teams, and they just came up short in a lot. They came up short in all of those games in that 7-game span. But I expect as they integrate Terry Rozier and as he gets more comfortable, and I also think those shots are going to start falling. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed, please leave a like, comment down below if you agree or disagree, and then subscribe for more weekly content. We do this all the time, man, and that's curtains.